25 ways you can promote your birth or baby business. Hi, my name's Liz Stanford and I am one half of BABA, the Birth and Baby Business Academy, the community membership for birth and baby business owners.
And my name's Anna Lagrange. I'm the other half of Baba Business. And we should say that if we would really like you, if you enjoyed this episode, to subscribe, like, review us, please. We love a review, and share this with anybody who you think might find it useful.
Yeah, so, I mean, who wouldn't find it useful? Who doesn't need new ways to promote their business, if I do say so myself?
I think when we were brainstorming this just now, you came up with a few things I hadn't thought about and vice versa. So, we thought about them, but just didn't think about them in the moment.
Yes.
So, what are your favourite ways of promoting? Let's think about particularly not so much what we're doing now, but when we were promoting our birth and baby businesses, what were your sort of favourite ways? What were the things that worked well for you?
Well, I have to say that one of my favourite ways of promoting my hypnobirthing classes, my business and what I was doing in general was to network with other local businesses. And I think that can take so many different forms, but even just in the very simplest forms, just building relationships with them, getting to know them, building that like, know, trust relationship that you do with your clients as well is so important, because if you've got other businesses that are cheerleaders for you and they're established, they've got an audience, they're growing an audience, then that is like gold dust for you. And so that is definitely one of the ways that really helped me to grow my hypnobirthing business locally.
Yeah, same for me. I think when you're starting out, actually it's essential if you're doing in person, you've got to be networking to build up your audience. So the sorts of things I did is I went to speak at the end of a pregnancy yoga class every month, once a month, and just answer some questions at a Q&A. I also got to know one of my local hypnobirthing teachers really well, so they would recommend me for breastfeeding classes, and it almost became a thing that they just did as a group. They'd come and do mindful breastfeeding antenatal with me. I also went to there was a group set up by a mum actually who was really interested in birth and baby, and she works in that field now, but at the time she was just pregnant. She wanted to learn more, and she kind of invited professionals to come, and we ran a group and we used to go in and take it in turns to have to say a little bit, so that was nice.
Lovely.
I used to get some clients that way. And just like lots of things. I always try to choose things that were fun for me as well, because it had to lift me up and make me feel good. There was definitely some networking events I got invited to, and I was like, that just does not sound fun.
Oh, so yes, I definitely had that experience as well. But I think you've got to try it before you knock it.
Sure.
You've got to give it a go.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I had a really lovely connection with a local pregnancy yoga teacher who had been in the business for much longer than me. When I first started, she was very established and very well known. And she was just so open and welcoming, which I must say, not everybody is. So don't be put off if some people aren't. Your people are definitely out there. But some of the things she used to do, I'll just tell you one, which I think might be really helpful and different to what you've just said, Anna, because I did used to do those things as well. But she used to have a newsletter. She was ahead of her time, shall we say, in terms of marketing. She was definitely very sort of on it in that respect. And she would mention me in her newsletter, or if I had a taster session, which was something that I ran every month really once I really got going, she would regularly mention my hypnobirthing taster session, and I would always get people signing up to attend that. So even a mention in a newsletter or a post, or them sharing a post of yours, can be really, really helpful and beneficial.
Yeah, which leads me on to thinking about other forms of written advertising, which obviously, other than your own newsletter, what about seeing what is out there for parents in your local area? Like, is there a local parents magazine? There, obviously we can go to things like flyers, putting up flyers, making sure they're at, up in the supermarket and local shops and things like that. Talking to other people that aren't even in the birth and baby business world, like, all of your friends and all of your family and everybody are you like obsessively talking about what you do? That stuff really makes a difference, because when your passion comes across, people will always remember. And then when their friend's cousin, sister or whatever is pregnant and looking for an antenatal class or looking for baby massage or something, they'll be like, oh, I know who does that. And so it's really really any moment is a sort of promotion moment. And of course we don't want to be an absolute bore and be like, like, are you ever talking about one thing? That would not make our friends very happy. But I think, I think sometimes people want to compartmentalize work and, personal life, but I think it really helps people know what you do, and they can, they can promote you as well, because often your friends and family are your biggest cheerleaders. So use that.
Oh, absolutely. And I always say to my brand new hypnobirthing instructors, they're like, where do I start? I'm like, start with who you know. Start with your friends and family. See who is willing to support you, share you, put you in contact with people who could be your ideal client. I mean, literally, you could just pick up your phone and scroll through your phone and see who you could make contact with, who's already in your contacts, who might be able to help you. And all you need to do is reach out to them on WhatsApp and say, hey, did you know that this is my business? This is what I'm doing. I don't know if you know anyone who might be interested in that. I'd really appreciate if you tell them. I mean, it's probably outside your comfort zone to do that, but I'm afraid you have to get outside your comfort zone when you are running your own business. And Anna, you mentioned the leaflets. So I have a love-hate relationship with leaflets. I think they're a great thing to have. And I think you need to be really strategic about where you put them up. Like, the place where you are putting them up, are they going to be well seen? Are they going to be seen by your ideal? Like, is there the potential for them to be seen by your ideal clients? Yes. I have something a bit embarrassing to admit. I did print off a load of leaflets. I was advised by somebody who does marketing. This was years and years and years ago. And they suggested a leaflet drop. So I did a leaflet drop in a housing estate not too far from me. And thinking back on it, I'm like, why did I do it? It was like just a waste of paper. I have no idea who's in those houses, if they're pregnant, if they're families, if they are, they might even have been like elderly people or people who are not even thinking about having babies. And it felt like a bit of a waste of money and a lot of time. So be strategic, think about where are your ideal clients going to be hanging out? And then that's really great for using leaflets and flyers.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest this is only a very small part of your marketing campaign. The idea of leaflets is that people need to see your services and hear about you. There's so many different studies. They say the lowest, I think, is 7 times. I've heard someone say 15 times. So this is just a small part of it's like building that subconscious picture and getting you in their mind. So the places I used to put mine up was like soft play centres, anywhere where like those kind of 4D baby scanning places. I asked them to have a little pile of leaflets because people are sitting and waiting and they're looking for stuff. Obviously, like your antenatal service, if you're lucky enough to have a connection with the NHS, would they, midwives or whatever, would they have it just so that if it comes up, they can be like, oh, do you know about this class? I was very lucky. I had a midwife who I knew who was happy to promote my services. So, but this is just one small part. Don't think that going on, like you say, like leafleting a local housing estate, you're going to then get a ton of bookings. It doesn't really work like that. It could be for 1 or 2 people a little, oh, that's interesting. And then when they see it again, they'll be like, oh, that's interesting, So it's not, but you're right. I think look at the time you've got available, money as well. Printing flyers can be expensive. I mean, in South Africa, it's so expensive, it's unreal. And thinking carefully about what, certainly if you're working in a venue and you're running your class in a venue, have leaflets at that venue for when you're not there. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. Have it on their pin board. Get to know the other people who are teaching in that venue, because their client, there might be swap over and they obviously already know where it is. They already like it. They're already, they're halfway there. So just utilising any potential connections that you have in the best way possible is a great way to promote yourself.
And having those leaflets to give to other local businesses that you're networking with is also a great idea as well. I don't know if we mentioned this one, but speaking at baby events or festivals. So back in the day, I missed this, but before Mother Care in the UK went into administration or whatever it was that happened to them, they used to run baby events where local businesses local birth and baby businesses could go and they could like have a little stand, have their leaflets. I had my big, what are they called? Big pop-up.
The banner things.
Banner thingy, And I had it was very old school. I had I had a form to write their names and their email addresses and all of that. that was a great way for me to grow my audience and get people to come to my free tasters. So that's not available anymore. But if you've got a John Lewis near you, they sometimes do something similar. I know Jojo Maman Bebe, excuse my French accent there. They let you put posters up right outside, usually right outside, or leaflets right outside the changing rooms, which are quite good because you know that your target audience are going to be there. And yeah, just any kind of like big department store, superstore that sells baby stuff, baby equipment, get in touch with them to see if they do run any baby events, like Mamas and Papas do as well sometimes. They can be a really great way to get in front of pregnant people or people who are just have had babies.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're low cost or free things to do. It's just a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it? And it is time consuming. And sometimes there is that social awkwardness. And it's just like, especially if you don't know anyone. But before you know it, especially if you start going to them regularly, you will build up a network. And I promise you, it's that network that will grow your business.
100%, definitely. So what about guesting on podcasts and in Facebook groups? Those are things that we've done as well.
Yeah, so think about what are your inside your own niche, which is whatever, baby massage, antenatal classes, it could be baby classes, could be breastfeeding support, whatever it is, you are bound to have a sort of even more precise interest that you could talk about. And it's those sorts of things that people love for you to go and talk about. So for me as a lactation consultant, I was really interested in obviously mindful breastfeeding, which is the thing I've talked about most, but also breastfeeding after breast reduction. So I've taken that and I've written talks, I've spoken to people on their podcasts, I've done conference talks on it. There's all sorts of things. So think about what are your interests that you really love to talk about in your work, and then let people know that is something you can either talk to them about or write for them about. People will love it because you're giving them free content that's interesting to their clients, and you're also getting your name out there. And not only that, because you're talking about the thing you're interested in, you're kind of calling in your ideal client as well.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many different ways you can do this. And they're things like the podcast in particular are like, they're there forever, basically, unless they take down their podcast. Because I can remember a few weeks ago, somebody booked onto my training because they found me via a podcast that I recorded with Nurturing Birth. Shout out to Nurturing Birth, a brilliant doula training company. And I'd recorded that maybe, I don't know, a year, 12 months before. And she'd picked up that podcast episode and connected with me through it. So definitely doing things like that can be really, really helpful. I was lucky enough to be invited to speak when I was teaching hypnobirthing locally, to speak at a local hospital NHS class at the end of their class, which isn't something that happens very often. So I don't want people kind of like rushing to their local hospitals and trying to get talks, because it's unlikely that, they might not even be running antenatal classes in their hospital anymore. I was very lucky. I knew someone who knew someone and kind of got that opportunity. To be honest, it wasn't actually that beneficial, because even though they were pregnant and they're my audience, they weren't my ideal clients. Hypnobirthing wasn't something they were after. So that is something that you kind of need to think about and be aware of as well.
But I think it's worth looking out for these opportunities and trying them out. I went to a NCT. We used to have a really popular NCT sale here. The
we have them as well. Yeah,
and the one here in Faversham was really big. And I was like, when I was training to a lactation consultant, I was like, that is where I want to be. I want to be there. I want to go and do that. And honestly, it wasn't a good use of my time, because people weren't there for that. It wasn't like an event where they were going around and looking at businesses. They just wanted to go in. They wanted to get their goods, their bargain goods, their pregnancy clothes, their baby stuff. They weren't interested in. It wasn't hanging around and stuff. It was very, very busy, and they were through. And I did it once, and I thought, this is, as much as it wasn't a good use of my time. That wasn't right. But then I did other events that were more about mingling and people going around chatting to each other, and so it's also about just trying something out and seeing and giving things a go, reaching out to people, see where something lands up. It's not always going to land up being for want of a better word, moneymaker or bringing clients in, but it's always a good experience and a good learning experience for your business. promotion.
Definitely. And I have to say, I did so many baby events in the early days. And like you, I had so many experiences where I like, my people are not here. They're not interested in what I've got to offer at the moment. But a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were really good for networking and connection. So just because you maybe don't get any clients from it, you're still promoting your business and building your reputation. So it could still be worth it in that respect. Right, what else have we got to offer people? There is, can I just share one of my all-time favorites, which was when I wrapped my car with the word hypnobirthing.
I was so hoping you were going to bring this up.
Yeah. I actually forgot about it. When we were brainstorming before, I forgot that this was something that I did. How could I forget that? So I wrapped my car with the word hypnobirthing and my business contact details. So it was down both sides of my car and on the back, on the window and on the boot. Everywhere, literally everywhere. And it was a black car with like bright blue writing all over it. You could not miss me. So did it bring me any direct clients? I don't know actually if it did or it didn't, but everybody bloody knew about me. Excuse me for swearing. Everybody knew about me. People were, I would stop at traffic lights. They'd be looking at me, like looking at, what does that say? And there would be like the kind of moms, parents at school would always ask me, so what's this that you do then? So it's a great way to start a conversation, have a conversation. And I would say, that was years ago, but I would say that probably cost me a couple of £100 to get that put on my car. And it was on there for years. I had to get it removed when we upgraded because we had another child and we needed a bigger car. So that is a possibility as well. Don't do it if you're really shy, but because you will get a lot of people talking to you. But that's a possibility.
Like, absolutely shameless plug. I love that. And just like think outside the box. Like, what about sending things to people? Like, one of the things we love doing at Babbo is we send postcards out to people because, snail mail, most of it's pretty depressing now, isn't it? It's usually a bill or like some spam, something that you're not interested in. Like, I don't know, like a double glazing ad or something. But to get something from like a nice postcard or even a little gift from somebody through the post and something that you're actually interested in is such a nice thing. So if you do happen to have a list, you could just say, we're sending out some little gifts this week, like pop me your address, and that's going to really land and people are going to really remember it.
I love that.
It's a nice idea. And just doing something a little bit different, is absolutely fine. Same with emails, send out emails to people, give people bits and pieces about what you do, about not just promotion, but just something of value, something that's actually going to help them through their day. So many times I've had emails back from me from my newsletter saying, that's exactly what I wanted to hear today, or that's, and of course not everybody who opened that email felt like that, but for just one person to feel like it makes it worth it and they're going to remember that. So I love that.
That definitely, I love receiving a postcard or something like that in the post. It makes you feel special, and that's that's why it can work really well. I mean, we haven't even really touched on social media yet, have we? But there is a lot that you can do on social media to help promote your business. So we love Instagram basically, but you don't have to be on Instagram. You need to be where your ideal clients are, and ours are primarily on Instagram. So we love going live, we love going in our stories, posting, doing reels. All of those kinds of things are great ways to promote your business, promote what you do, let people know who you are and what you're about essentially. And we do focus quite a bit on that because our business is online. But if you are a face-to-face person, you might be focusing more on face-to-face marketing while still having a presence on social media.
Yeah, I think stories are great because you can just take people along your day. It doesn't take much thought. It just takes habit to do stories. And it just stories really give people a little bit of an insight into you and your world. And I do not share everything I'm not like a massive, I'm an oversharer, but on stories I don't share lots of details about my life. You don't have to share lots about your kids and that kind of stuff. But I do find it's a nice way. That's how I kind of got into Instagram really, because I just thought, this is quite fun and it's quite easy. And then obviously there's lives. I know a lot of people feel really uncomfortable about lives. The trick to getting comfortable about lives is to hop on live with somebody else. Invite someone along, see it like a guest podcast or something, but very informal, someone who you get on with. If they've got a bigger audience than you, but it's your ideal audience, even better. And just chat away like we do, like we are now. We just love a chat, and that's you can definitely do that. If you're not comfortable with just chatting to your audience directly, having a chat with someone else can really take the pressure off and get you used to doing lives. And that works for Facebook as well, doesn't it? Not just Instagram.
100%. And like this full disclaimer, I don't like going live on my own, but I love going live with you. I feel much more, because I am quite introverted, but I feel much more comfortable like chatting on a podcast with someone or chatting on live with you. And you got to find what works for you and what helps you kind of step outside your comfort zone. The other thing, Anna, that you mentioned before we actually went and press record on this was you were talking about a takeover, and I was like, genius.
We went through a little phase and I haven't done one for ages, but a takeover can be where you've got someone who works in a similar thing to you, but they offer something else. So let's say, for example, you offer baby signing classes. Maybe there's a baby massage teacher that's a friend of yours or something, and you could just then swap over. You do have to sort of swap over your login, so there has to be a level of trust there. You swap over your logs and you do stories on theirs, and it can be for a day, it could even be for a week. And they do them on yours, so you literally sort of swap personalities. It can be a really fun thing to do. You obviously have to explain to the people who follow you what you're doing so that it's clear. Otherwise they might be a bit confused. But you can do everything. You can do posts, you can do stories. It's a really nice way of it can give you a little boost with creating content when you're thinking, I'm going to create content for a whole new audience, and it can be quite exciting. So that can be a really fun thing to do. Another thing which just popped into my head is competitions. Competitions work well both in person and on Instagram / raffles. So getting together with a group of people and kind of promoting that way, and just making sure that anybody who has got a prize, there's you have to like everybody who's that's how you enter. You make sure you like everybody on the list, and that can be a quite a good way of growing your numbers together. It does take a bit of work because you sort of have to check who's liked everybody and all that kind of stuff before they win a prize, but it can be a good one for growing your audience through other people. So that's similar to a takeover, I suppose, in a way, just joining a community of other people.
Definitely. Good idea.
I'm also going to mention there's other places like TikTok and LinkedIn that Liz and I, we don't particularly use them. We're not against using them, we just haven't found ourselves there just yet. But if that's your place, if that's where you're happy, if you're someone who's on TikTok all the time, then my goodness, promote yourself on TikTok, because if that's what you know and you're comfortable with, don't try and start forcing yourself over onto Instagram. Obviously you do want to be where your clients are, that's really important, and it might be that LinkedIn just isn't right, but say that hundreds of people in the corporate world, hundreds of other women who might also be at that kind of baby stage. I know for my husband, he went from working in very corporate, having a huge number of followers on LinkedIn. He went to doing sports coaching for a while, and he just sort of changed everything on his LinkedIn, and he got a lot of interest and a lot of people who were also really interested in doing sports, did a lot of sports. It wasn't just because it wasn't a corporate thing that he was doing didn't mean that LinkedIn wasn't a good place for him to promote it, because that's where he actually had most followers. So it made sense for him to share everything he was doing on there more than Instagram. So I think that definitely, you may think, what's LinkedIn got to do with having babies? Well, it doesn't necessarily, but if that's where your people are at, then absolutely you should be sharing what you're doing, your new venture there. All sorts of people are going to come out and go, wow, this is amazing what you're doing, how exciting for you, so happy for you. And then that's another person who's going to share your stuff.
Yeah, at the very least, it's just raising awareness, isn't it? Rather than kind of focusing on getting those clients. So something else, what about writing a newsletter? Or if you haven't got a newsletter, or you're not at the stage to build a newsletter, then definitely following up previous leads, previous clients, letting them know what you're doing in your business, like staying in touch and asking them, can you share this with any pregnant friends or friends who've got, small children or babies or, whatever is relatable to your classes and your work. That's a really good thing to do, because those people, especially the people who've already worked with you, are going to be your cheerleaders. They're going to be your fans if they've had a great experience with you. And people who were leads previously, they might not have signed up to your class, but they might still be interested. So always letting them know what you're doing is a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, so many ideas there. I think that might have been a few more than 25, but we are going to have to end it there at 25 minutes, in fact. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, review us. We would absolutely love that. And we will see you next week for another episode.
We will. But can I just also say, we have got the amazing Serious Birth and Baby Business Bootcamp coming up, which we can't finish this podcast without telling you about. So if you started the year feeling like you got everything nailed, planned, moving forward, or maybe you didn't even get round to it, then perhaps now in March you're feeling a bit lost in, like, you've gone off piste with your plan and your goals. So the boot camp is to help you get back on top of your vision, get back in line with your goals, and get back in line with your planning as well. And we also have a bonus masterclass, which is going to be all about you rising and thriving in your birth or baby business. So go to the show notes and sign up. It's the end of April, 29th of April.
29th of April, 4 days, and we'd love to have you there. It's all free. And of course, I'm very glad you said that, because we would have done a whole episode on promotion without even promoting our own stuff.
There we go. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.